Hello, everyone. Always like to start off. I will start off with a copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringed. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. I also like to start off with a Bible verse that is Matthew 18, verse 6. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones, which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depths of the sea. I hope everyone's having a good day today. I had downloaded a copy from the Department of Homeland Security's efforts to combat child abuse and child exploitation, and I wanted to go over that with y'all. If you have any comments, please go ahead and say so in the chat, and I'll do my best to address it. You got a right to have a voice, you have a right to speak out. But I know that a lot more needs done than what is being done today. There's still so much to be done. Without further ado, I'll go ahead, share my screen. And this is the fact sheet of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, DHS efforts to combat child exploitation and abuse. As I told people, I've been having trouble, sinus trouble, and other things related to allergies. So please bear with me. All right. This was released April the 4th, 2022. DHS is a global leader in combating child exploitation and abuse. Try to get it to highlight here. Mouse is not wanting to work with me at the moment. Got an attitude. The DHS Child Exploitation Investigations Unit is the CE, looks like IU, part of the Homeland Security Investigations. HCI Cybercrime Center, C3, leads the nation in the fight against online child sexual abuse. Hello there, Jackie. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Thank you. CEIU detects and apprehends producers and distributors of child sexual abuse material and perpetrators of transnational child sexual abuse, identifies and rescues child victims around the world, and trains domestic and international law enforcement partners in cutting edge investigative practices with interagency partners and other DHS offices and agencies, from the U.S. Secret Service to the Science and Technology S&T Directorate. DHS brings to bear its full resources in combating these heinous crimes. How are you doing today, Jackie? The recent DHS highlights the HSI Child Exploitation Investigations Unit identified and or rescued 1,177 child victims in child exploitation investigations in FY 2021. This is February 2021. During the same period, CEIU arrested 3,776 individuals for crimes involving the sexual exploitation of children and helped to secure more than 1,500 convictions. I'm doing pretty good today, Jackie. Thanks for asking. I'm glad you're doing well also. It's a pretty good day. It's kind of warm. I heated me up a bite to eat. I made some pork ribs, barbecue pork ribs, and some mashed potatoes, and now I got a full belly. CEIU's Angel Watts Center issued 1,722 notifications regarding international travel by convicted child sex offenders in February 2021, resulting in more than 600 denials of entry by foreign nations. I guess they tried to end up leaving the country and going there, and there's like, we don't want you. On March 24th, 2022, for 600, oh, okay. On March 24th, 2022, Secretary Mayorkas, together with Attorney General Garland and five country ministerial partners, Australia, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, Canada, and the United States, issued a statement which I had there and commemorate the second anniversary of the voluntary principles to combat online child sexual exploitation and abuse, and calling on tech companies to do more to fight this growing threat. And they had a big list of companies to go try to that. Well, I love ribs also. Mashed potatoes did have butter, real butter. It didn't have margarine. It had the real butter and salt and pepper in it. It was really tasty. And on USSS polygraph exams of online offenders, often those in possession of child sexual abuse material, conducted in February 2021, uncovered 112 victims of sexual abuse, 292 separate sexual assaults, 1,608 instances of child sexual abuse material exchanged among adults. I believe I didn't read this part about the U.S. Secret Service, USSS polygraph examiners provided training in February 2021 to over 1,100 sworn law enforcement officials throughout the country to enhance their counter child exploitation tactics. Now we go down to the HSI victim assistant specialists have already assisted more than 300 child exploitation victims in February 2022. HSI forensic interview specialists already conducted approximately 600 trauma informed forensic interviews with child victims to support investigations and bring perpetrators to justice. Well, how about a better justice system, kind of like Florida had just adapted the law where the predators who raped children get the death penalty, possibly get the death penalty. How about a lot of these other states doing that as well? Especially even all these people that's letting these different states marry kids. Don't they know that they're giving in to and let these children still be victims? They're under their age where they cannot even comply or be age of consent to have sex, and yet y'all still allowing some of these grown adult men to marry these young kids. I'm not talking about 15, 16-year olds. I'm talking about even younger than that. There's been some 12 and 13-year olds, as I had put out there yesterday. It's sickening. Very sickening. You cannot tell me that that's legal. You cannot say that, well, as long as they're married and it's a religious thing and all that, that's okay. Excuse me, no. You're the one that's being down and dirty by going ahead and promoting and saying, okay, the judge, go ahead and let you marry sick people. Very shocking. HSI's Project iGuardian provided tips and resources to nearly 60,000 children and adults in February 2021 for keeping children safe from online sexual predators. In the first quarter of February 2022, USSS more than doubled the ranks of its Childhood Smart program. Ambassadors, Secret Service personnel who educate parents, teachers, and children in child exploitation prevention strategies. USSS CSP ambassadors educated more than 2,500 parents, teachers, and children in February 2021 about how to prevent online sexual exploitation and child abduction. Okay, you might have educated, but some of these people that supposedly educated are actually victimizing their children. They're hiding behind a cover. You're educating them, but guess what? You're not really standing on top of it, catching these people. There's too many predators out there. Y'all know the statistics about how many girls and boys have been forced into this. You're educating, saying y'all educated that many. Do more than just educate. Educate. Do more about it. Check into people's backgrounds. Like I got a friend in Idaho, and it is horrible because there are some kids at a school, and then right beside the school is a fence. There's some apartments, and there are a lot of child predators outside of that school, beyond that fence. There's possibly some kids that probably walk to and from school, which they'll have to end up passing these predators. Why don't y'all do something about that? Because that area, the local government there, is not doing anything about it. How about y'all stepping in there and doing something about it for another kid becomes a victim? Another statistic. Do something about it, y'all. Don't just talk, walk the walk. Do something about it. We're tired of this happening. We will stick up. We will say what the facts are. U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services announced the final rule on March 7, 2022, to clarify eligibility criteria and evidentiary requirements for special immigrant juveniles classification to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the program. The HSI Human Rights Violators and War Crimes Unit, through Operation Limelight USA, trained 1,900 individuals across interagency in FY 2021 on female genital mutilation on cutting, which aims to prevent and help victims. Child FGM will see a severe form of child abuse under federal law. UK, you have background checks if you work with children and vulnerable people, but some slip through the. Oh yeah, look at all the school teachers that's going through and doing these sexual acts towards the kids. They supposed to have some kind of background check. They're slipping through the system like crazy. There was some, like with the school where I went to, two of the teachers had impregnated students. One of the teachers was married to somebody else, and he ended up divorcing his wife just to marry the student, just to keep himself out of jail. Why do y'all permit it? I know that there's been some people that was a teacher and the principal. Principal's wife actually said, "Well, he fixed it. He married her. It ain't about that. It's about sending our kids to school We don't have to worry about them being victims of this. It's needless. The other teacher was not married, and this was since I have been out of school. This was just about a year or two ago. And the teacher went ahead and married the student to get out of having to face the repercussions of him sexually abusing students. Exactly. That's where there's grooming going on in schools. They are trying to sexual young children. They're doing a good job about it too. They're doing more than trying, but nothing's getting done about it. If I was a law, I would have not, even though he ended up marrying the student, I believe that he should still, because the kid was still a kid, underage child, and you done this. Don't try to right a wrong by allowing these kids to marry the student, the perpetrator, the abuser. How's that going to fix? That's putting a child in more dangerous situation, if you ask me. Stop condoning it and putting some kind of neat little wrapping over it by getting the perpetrator to marry the child that he SA'd. I've heard so many people that they were messed with from a church, and the child got pregnant. The parent tried to cover it up as well, was saying, "Well, no, you're just a dirty girl," and made the young girl marry this guy who's supposed to be an elder of the church. This is so wrong, y'all. They're looking at the victim as they being the perpetrator. Instead, it's the perpetrator, a grown person who's responsible. I will be a voice for people the best I can. I will stick up for people. People's got a right to advocate. Exactly. Exactly, Jackie. It's horrible. Victim protection and support. DHS is incorporating a victim centered approach into all department programs, policies, and operations that involve victims of crime. This effort seeks to minimize additional trauma, mitigate undue penalization, and provide needed stability and support to victims. Okay, what happened to these victims? You know, there was a victim, and a little 3 or 4 year old boy who was raped by a Sunday school teacher in Franklin, Tennessee. You can look up the Gracie Solomon and the Grant Solomon case. The same judge who said that Gracie's mother cannot bring any more charges to court against Gracie's father until Gracie becomes of age. And then Grant ended up murdered, but they're just letting sweeping it under the rug. Y'all look up Gracie and Grant Sullivan here at YouTube. You'll find out a lot about that. But the same judge who allowed this, the rape of a 4 year old child, is married to a state senator who said, y'all need to just let it go. What are you got to do when they're right there? They're in the state senate. They're and nothing's being done. It's just swept under the rug. And another girl in that same church type of system where they had a school as well. She was gang raped. Did you know that she was not allowed to press charges either? They did nothing to the people. The same judge as the Gracie Solomon, the same judge as for that 3 or 4 year old boy that was raped by the Sunday school teacher, and the same person that's in the Senate in the state of Tennessee. It's going on now still today that they're still not doing things. You can look how you can look up and support Gracie. She's got Freedom for Gracie at YouTube, okay? And then there's Justice for Grant. and as Grant Sullivan. It's going on now. We're saying in the UK, the house is on fire and the children are inside, and nobody is doing nothing. They will keep speaking up about grooming the children. Yeah, they keep talking about it, but they're doing nothing. Why aren't And I know, and I'm really mad. I will not vote for Governor Bill Lee again because Governor Bill Lee attends the same church as this per said judge, this per said state representative, the same church as Grant and Gracie's father, who had raped Gracie innumerable times with a judge and the senator and that school. They did nothing about it. They just told them that they need to shut up. They threatened students who talked to them. They threatened students who would discuss any such things that happened to Gracie or anything. These children were threatened to speak up. If they spoke up, they'll be in trouble. This is wrong, very wrong. Although what good are laws that's supposed to be mandated reporters if these people that's like judges and the state representative are going, no, drop it. You know, you just get over it. How's that going to really help us? Why are you letting more victims happen? Why aren't you protecting the children? So, and you're with the government too, and y'all know that this is happening. I know dang well y'all got to know this is happening. There's been so many marches and talks about it. Y'all know what's going on. Why aren't y'all doing something about it, people? This Department of Homeland Security. Why aren't y'all doing something about this judge and this state representative in Tennessee? How about putting your money where your mouth is and go do something about it? USCIS provides immigration protections to child victims of human trafficking, abuse, and neglect, including special immigrant juvenile classification, T visa, U visa, and VAWA protection. HSI provides short term immigration protections to human trafficking victims, including victims of child sex trafficking. Now, here's what they say on the operations and enforcement. Now, I'm doing my best not to go ahead. I'm trying to bite my tongue and not cuss, but some of this is really, it angers me, okay? I'm a victim as well. One of my perpetrators was a state trooper in the state of Alabama who his daddy had businesses in Alabama, who my parents had sold me to them for child pornography, made videos of me when I was so young, from age 4. And the state trooper said I was up to age 11 to 14. I can't remember which age, but I think it's probably 11. That's when I moved to Alabama. I'm from Alabama to Florida. So I think that's when it stopped whenever I had moved away. Something is very wrong with the picture. And see, I didn't remember it. He actually told me, I remember you from doing this, and I'm still excited about it. He's dead today. I don't know where those tapes is. I had asked him I hope that since his daddy's dead, he got rid of them. He said no. His daddy had a friend that enjoyed the child pornography, and so he gave them all to him. He said there was over 300 videos, movies of child pornography, and he said I was in the majority of them. Y'all know how sick this makes me feel that I'm not protected today? CEI use Operation Predator targets child sexual predators, including producers, distributors, and receivers of child sexual abuse material on both the clear web and dark web. Since 2003, more than 33,000 individuals have been arrested as part of Operation Predator. Yeah, the government's taking part of the grooming. You got that right. USSS provides forensic and technical assistance to NCMEC and state local law enforcement in cases involving missing and exploited children. The assistance includes polygraph examinations coordinated with internet crimes against children, task force audio and video enhancement to identify and locate victims and perpetrators, speaker recognition, fingerprint analysis, and GIS analysis to help locate missing children. Thank you so much, Jackie. I appreciate you saying that. I try my best to get the word out. And when come across something like this that says something that's closely related to my life, I will speak out. I won't just sugarcoat it and just sit there and say, yeah, you say you do this. Well, then how about doing something about it? It's still a major problem. CEIU Angel Watch Center, a joint effort with CBP and the U.S. Marshals Service, combats transnational child sexual abuse by identifying child sex offenders who attempt to travel internationally for the purpose of sexually abusing or exploiting minors and alerting foreign law enforcement to offenders pending arrival. Okay, like I said, with I'll tell y'all what problem I have with this on exploiting minors. If the judges are going ahead in some of the states and allowing child abuse and exploitation of minors and all this for religious beliefs, like yesterday, I did the video on this and they were talking, and I basically went state by state, and some of the states says no exemptions, so that made it where they have to pay for whatever they do in them per se states. But then a lot of the states had said that you're exempt from following these laws if you're religious. So you could go ahead and abuse your child for religious purposes. You can do corporal punishment in some of the states as well. You can even do, how sadistic is this, y'all? This is very sadistic. As long as it's religious, for religious reasons, you can go ahead and sexually exploit your child. How is any of that religious wise? And some of the states also, if you're sexually abusing them, and if it's against your religious beliefs to have your child go to a doctor where the court system could go and, or where the child could be treated, did you know that they can't do a dang thing about trying to protect that child or trying to get it help, trying to heal that child from the abuse? A parent can lie and say that's against my religious belief and still keep victimizing the child and not a dang thing that they're going to do about it because they're saying as long as it's for religious purposes. And then if you're the states that's going ahead and let these 10, 11, 12, 13-year olds, 14-year olds marry these grown men just because the justice system said they can, the judge involved says they can, why are you allowing still these judges to go ahead and let our kids be raped? That is way under the age of consent, agreeing to have sex with an adult or another child. That's still under age of consensus being able to say yes. It's so messed up. Some of our kids end up scarred when they're married like this. Did y'all know that they cannot get a divorce? They have no rights at all to divorce. If they are abused by the men since they're a kid, they have nowhere to run. They cannot go into these abused women's shelters since they're a kid. They have to stay married to this abuser that the judge put them with. Why are you messing up our kids' lives? CEIU's Operation Dark Angel complements the work of the Angel Watch Center, leveraging advanced investigative and intelligence capacities and HSI special agents around the globe to target transnational child sex abusers. And by the way, and the thing that I was talking about yesterday about the children that they're the abuse things, child marriage that I did yesterday, also showed on there are ways to go to each state and try to mandate that a law gets passed, and you go to your representatives in each state, find out which states have this mandated where they're not going to let any child under the age of 18 marry. There's not going to be any exception. Even with states that say you can marry at age, the highest age you can marry is 17, a lot of people's fine with saying that, but that's not what it's about. There are some underlying things where a child can still, like I'm saying, the youngest child that was married in the state of Alabama, I believe it was age 13. So excuse me, even though these ages, they got these age laws and stuff like that, when they go ahead and let a judge marry a child, go through a judge system, so they slip through that age 17 and let this 13-year-old go ahead and marry this grown perpetrator, pedophile. So this guy, they're going to legitimize his sexual abuse on this kid. So y'all need to do more about this, y'all, Homeland Security. If y'all really want to be in the line and protect our kids, how about working and doing that? Stopping this crazy crap. S&T developed cutting-edge tools and technologies to arm domestic and international law enforcement partners with advanced forensic capabilities to identify and apprehend child sexual abuses. See, you can't apprehend them if you're letting them legally marry a child, and that is not right. That is still a sex abuse. That is where judges are should end up going to jail over letting this happen as well. They're just as much a perpetrator involved with that marriage. They're involved with the child being raped. They're aligned with it. So anybody who condones that a little 13, 14-year old or even 10, 11-year old marry, you know what? You deserve jail time as well. You deserve to be under the jail. You don't deserve to get probation. You deserve to serve a life in jail because you are basically going against the best of the child. And of course, sometimes they were allowing the parents to beat up the child as long as they were poor, to neglect the child if the parent was poor. That was another exception to the child abuse things in some of the states. Isn't that not crazy? Excuse me, it is. Share innovative digital forensics tools and test and evaluate emerging counter child exploitation technologies. And I have y'all to know there are a lot of people out there who will go and help parents who cannot afford to get food for their children. There are a lot of people who will go out there and stop at nothing to go help put food in these kids' mouths. CEIU supports and CMEC operations in the Department of Justice Child Exploitation and Obscenity section with full-time HSI liaisons. CEIU also serves as a leading member of nearly a dozen national and international law enforcement working groups and R&D task force aimed at developing tools and best practices to protect children from sexual abuse. If you're protecting children, go back over what I had just got through saying. Do not want to repeat myself. Screening. U.S. Customs and Border Protection screens all unaccompanied children and other arriving minors for indicators of abuse or exploitation, human trafficking, and other crimes, and all suspected criminal cases are referred to HSI. So sometimes I would like to get the facts behind this to know actually somebody that is a good person outside of the justice, outside of this league of government, because I don't really trust the government. I believe there needs to be other people that's aware of these cases so they can follow these cases and make sure the child is really taken care of and not even exploited even more. DHS is developing screening protocols and methods across the department for DHS personnel to identify and report child exploitation in their day to day duties. Public education and outreach. USSS, in particular, with NCMEC, operates a Childhood Smart program for education, parents, teachers, and children about safe use of the internet, abduction prevention strategies, and combating child sex trafficking. HSI operates Project iGuardian in partnership with NCMEC, NetSmarts, and the ICAC Task Force to educate kids, teens, parents, and teachers throughout the country about online safety and how to stay safe from sexual predators. As we all know, there had been somebody in the federal government that was supposedly a part of this project who actually got caught in a sting trying to meet up with a teenager. But it was a sting operation and he got busted. Thank you, Jesus. The HSI Human Rights Violators and War Crimes Unit operates a robust education and outreach program aimed at protecting young girls from female genital mutilation or cutting, a severe form of child abuse. The effort includes Operation Limelight, an outreach program conducted at international airports across the United States to educate the traveling public about the dangers of FGM. See the criminal framework prohibiting travel for the purpose of that, survival resources, and contact information for reporting a child who may be at risk. Some of that, you who know my story, I don't like talking about some of the stuff, but some of the stuff needs talked about. When I was 4 years old, my dad went to the living room when I was laying on the couch, and evidently he had me waiting nude for him. He went in there and he used a knife and he mutilated me between my legs when I was 4 years old. And a doctor has validated this as well. If you suspect a child might be a victim of online exploitation, call the HSI tip line at 1-866-347-2423 and fill out the online NCMBC Cyber Tip Line form at reportcybertip.org. If you suspect a child has been abducted or faces imminent danger, contact your local police and the NCMEC tip line at 1-800 The Lost. There was a program on Netflix that somebody had watched recently that I guess it was missing, and they end up finding the girl. I think it was in North Carolina. The mother had taken her, but luckily somebody had watched that video at Netflix, and now the girl is home safe after 6 years. Thank God for that. Yeah, Jackie. That's why a lot of times I get a lot angrier with a lot of this stuff because so much has happened to me too, and so many people are just allowing these kind of crap to happen. They just tell me I just need to let bygones be bygones, but it ain't about bygones being bygones. And this is not about vengeance or anything. This is about sticking up and protecting our kids, telling our stories, helping others. It happens too often. We don't need to close our eyes or shut up our ears. We need to speak up. This is growing and growing. No matter what people say, it is growing. So many people say it's dropped. You ain't going to prove to me it's dropped because a lot of things just don't go reported. You cannot prove to me that it's dropped. To raise awareness on human trafficking, including child sex and forced labor trafficking in the community, using the DHS Blue Campaign resources on DHS.gov. Recently, there was a case, including the forced labor trafficking. There were some kids found in Kentucky where they were under the age, like about 10 years old or so, and they were working in the fast food restaurant. The mother worked there too, supposedly, and the children were dumping fries into the hot grease and all that kind of stuff, and they could have easily got burnt and everything. That is not. They got an age limit for anybody that messes with, doing the French fries and stuff too. But still, they were under the age, and that one company who got into trouble, they claimed that it was the mom that did it. But then, when they did more research, this company had other things with other kids, also putting them out at different jobs in different factories. Thank you so much, Jackie, for saying I'm doing the right thing, for speaking up. Keep doing what you do. Children need a voice. That's so true. They're not going to quiet me up that easily. Then there's a read the DHS strategy to combat human trafficking, the importation of goods produced by forced labor, and child sexual exploitation. Familiar yourself with Familiarize yourself with the voluntary principles to counter online child sexual exploitation and abuse. Which, like, there's a lot of links I'm sure that y'all can see. It's got like the DHS.gov. There's a lot of different links there. I just thought that I needed to get on there today and talk about their impacts on it. Yeah, that's what my ex daughter in law, that's one reason why she hates me, is when she knew that I had published my first book, but you can find it at Amazon too, but it costs too much to buy. It's a collector's edition. And so whoever's selling it now, which I don't get any of the proceeds for, um, it's for sale over $100 something dollars. But the main point, it's Darlene Clark, and it's Born in a Living Hell. And my ex daughter in law wrote me a bad review on it and says, sounds made up. As a matter of fact, I know it is. Thanks, Mom, for doing what I asked you not to do. The weird thing is, at the time when I contacted Amazon about why did they get rid of a lot of my friends' comments on there, and they said, because they're your friends. I go, I got a lot of friends all over Facebook and all this other kind of stuff. Why are you doing this when you got one from a daughter in law that was family and you're not getting rid of it? Why are you condoning this type of or play? But in a way, friends have told me, it's a good thing that it's there because all it does is validate. It just validates how a lot of the families will not stick up for you. It just validate how people threaten. And the weird thing is, before she went and done this, she asked me, was I going to do a book too? And I said, yes, I got to say how I got out of the situation, that I had left it on a cliffhanger in book one. But I overheard my stepmom and her kids talking about killing me and making it look like suicide. So then I needed the book two to basically continue on and say how I got out of that home, you know. And she asked me not to. The second book title I got now is called Shattered Innocence. It's under Darlene J. Clark, Shattered Innocence. I went ahead and I think I got both titles. Like if you could go to my profile page on here, I got both titles of my books on my profile here. And the first book was, Darlene Clark, and if I'm not mistaken, it's with an E. I can't remember. And that was called Born in a Living Hell. and my second book is Shattered Innocence. But I still have a lot of what was in the first book. I still have a lot of that in book two because I stopped production from that company because they were, yeah. Oh, you're quite welcome. You're welcome. And we have a lot of good people out here that are people that endured a lot of the abuse. Did you know that one of the times that I was rescued, they call it a rescue, but this one guy rescued me out from underneath the house, and he's the one that told me about it because I cannot remember. And he said that the cops came and got me 3 days later from the hotel room, and he said, but I saved her. She couldn't walk. They had beat her so bad. And the cop said, well, you know, her stepmom's got custody of her. My dad was already dead. So basically, I had to go back to an evil stepmom who beat me and left me up underneath the house to die, as the guy had told him. And the cops took me back over there. The cops returned me back to a place where they tried to kill me and put me up underneath the house to die. And yet, so excuse me, I do not trust police officers to ever protect me. They have never done so. And I'm not going to go like this and sugarcoat and say that all cops are, I'm not going to say all cops are bad or all cops are good. I know that's a farce. They're human. But they need to stand up and help a child when they know that it's in this predicament. And I know one time I was at the school and they took me to dad's because my family had said, that my siblings had said that daddy used to shoot at me. He told the police that daddy used to shoot at me. So they took me, cop took me to my dad's house. My dad said, cop said, what's all these scratches and everything? Said that her siblings and all said that that's where you've been beating her with the switches and you've been beating her with a whip and all that. He said, no, she fell into the blackberry bushes. And I can remember the cop turned around at me and said, don't you ever lie about this again. If I see that you make another thing about your daddy doing something to you, we're going to end up arresting you or taking you away and doing some things to you since you want to lie about what was done to you. The cops did not protect me. Instead, they reprimanded me because they chose to believe my daddy that said that I got all them bruises and marks from falling into the blackberry bushes. They chose to believe the abuser. Yep, I don't trust cops either. Exactly. It's lucky that we survived. There's a lot of people. I'm glad that they survived as well. So now, what we do, the more we get out there and we share our stories, the more we'll have a voice to try to save somebody's life. We don't need to lose hope. We need to just get out there, be honest, tell our truths, stick up, and help when we can. Y'all know me. I really get angry at some of the stories when I'm telling them. I start fussing back at, the people who have hurt a kid. Even if the person is dead now, I just get so irate, mad. Like, how did the cops not know about this? How did, why are, this is so unreal. That last case that you got me to discuss, that was really horrid. Filicide is what they call it when a parent kills their own child. But anyway, I want to thank you for coming and thank everybody that came and is here. I thank you for having a good conversation with me, Jackie. I love and appreciate you. Just remember, never lose hope. We have a voice, and we need to stand up and stand firm and stand true to who we are and what we are. What they done to us is not who we are. Who we are is amazing people. It's amazing people that have survived against forces that tried to destroy us, but we're still kicking. We're not giving up, and we will speak out. Yes, it is hard hitting. It's true. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jackie, and I love you, girl. It is hard hitting at times, but you're right. It's got to be documented. How else would anybody know about it? Exactly. And I appreciate you each and every time for your support. I'll say good night and God bless to you. Bye bye. Lots of love. Thank you.